So welcome everyone to our first all Sangha service, including people of all ages. So the first thing that we do when we enter the room is we make 3 prostrations together. So you can either do them full prostrations, or you can just simply make a bow, whatever works is available to your body. But for those of you who know how to do them and would like to, well, first of all, let's all stand up. And so whether you make full prostrations or bows, either way is fine. But those of you up in the front, I want you to help me to lead the way. Okay, so we start with bow. So let's all find a seat. Already. And so we're going to sit quietly for 5 minutes. Okay, so let's see. Let's make it a challenge. Okay, 5 minutes it is. I'm going to ring the bell to begin our 5 minutes, and then I'll ring the bell. Wait until the very last moment you hear the bell, and then bring your hands down in meditation movement. Feel how you have. Inhale, go all the way in. Exhale, all the way out. Inhale, all the way down to our toes. Exhale. As we meditate, we sense the clear sky above us today. Of that sky, the space, solar system, galaxy, universe, changing, goes every time you breathe in, you change. Every time you breathe out, the air around us changes. Each time you exhale, the universe changes a little bit. Showing us that we are part of the universe. All the time. No separation. Chilling and out. Every time those peaceful little thoughts come back and noticing your breath. Noticing how we change, the universe is changing with us. Friends of Pakcham with sincere heart. Gold star, everyone. Okay, so we have one more thing to do before we start. Actually, two more things to do before we start our story. I'd like to call Brandon.
Right.
Come on up. I want to have you read to us this little thing that we do to be grateful for who came before us and who we are in this place in the universe. And so if everyone could just bring your focus to the altar, and Imran is going to read to us. Hands in hot chong, still.
On this number of days, we acknowledge that this land where our temple buildings stand has been the home of native peoples, the Potawatomi, the Ottawa, and the Ojibwa, the Council of the Three Fire Tribes, and also the Black Americans. We know that this neighborhood used to be the historical Black neighborhood during the times of racial segregation and oppression. For our own awakening and for the awakening of all life, may the benevolent energies of our meditation, chanting, and full presence here at this service, this AM extend to all beings on this planet and throughout time and space. May there be deepening of our inner being, may peace prevail and wars cease. Let us sit in meditation once again.
So instead of sitting in meditation once again, right now we're all going to stand up and do the three refuges together. Okay, everyone, hands in hot chong, face the altar. Repeat after me. Buddha, the awakened one.
Buddha, the awakened one.
The awakened heart in us all.
The awakened heart in us all.
And the living force of peace.
And the living force of peace.
May I take refuge in the Buddha.
May I take refuge in the Buddha.
Dharma, the teachings of the Buddha.
Dharma, the teachings of the Buddha.
Moral discipline and wisdom.
Moral discipline and wisdom.
May I take refuge in the Dharma.
May I take refuge in the Dharma.
Sangha,
Sangha,
a happy and joyous community of all living beings.
the happy and joyous community of all living beings.
May I take refuge in the Sangha.
May I take refuge in the Sangha.
Everyone, have a seat. Okay, so we need some kids in this area. Everyone over here is golden now.
5 points for it.
All right, it's okay. Hey everyone, my name is Hayun, and I am a Dharma teacher here at the temple. start, I wanted to give a shout out to my dear sister Tom-san, who needs no introduction. We're just going to give introductory remarks after we leave today, but I won't be here, so I wanted to extend that. And I also wanted to say, in honor not just of Tom-san, but of all of us, we're actually going to have tofu puffs after this. After the services are over, we're going to meet in the backyard and have a picnic together. So if you can stay, you are welcome to stay and join us. And we also have some games. Games. Right. So thank you all for coming today. I have a very important story for you today. It's very relevant. This is a story about a prince. A prince who lived with his family over on Cambridge Street in Ann Arbor. It was a 3-story house, all made of marble. They were very, very well-to-do people, the prince and his family. And it was all that white marble, so the prince never got like calluses on his feet. He was just always in this. But the important thing is that the prince and his family, every single time there was a service like this, they were here at the temple. They were regular temple members, and so they came a lot. And the prince just found himself having this amazing affinity for the Dharma and really loving the Dharma. He'd be with his friends, and they'd be like, and he'd be like, listen to the Dharma, see how it could help us. And he really connected with it in such a great way that when he decided to go to college, he could have gone anywhere. He was prince. Where did he go? Dharma Gate U. Located in Bad Axe, Michigan. You probably didn't know. So he was in Bad Axe. He was in Bad Axe, Dharma Gate U. He was so happy, and he got there. And it was one of those like Hogwarts type campuses with big Gothic buildings, the ivy coming all over. And they had a banner going across for the new students. And do you know what that banner said?
What?
Make humility great again. Oh, so he was just in heaven. He was just like, I'm so excited. And his major was humility. It's a very hard thing to major in. And his professor was a professor named Pacheka Buddha. Professor Pacheka Buddha. He's kind of an eclectic man. Also, the head of the Detroit Zen Center. Actually, it's kind of like a Buddha who's different than the Buddha you know, but still a Buddha. So Pacheka Buddha lived in the Porcupine Mountains. How did he get down to Bad Axe, you might ask? Well, he meditated in a cave. He would meditate for weeks. That's how really focused he was. But it is said, and I'm telling you exactly what the scripture says, that he got to the Dharma Gate U by actually using the clouds like we would use stepping stones in a stream. He would be bounding down on clouds. I didn't make that up. That's how he lived. So he would get up from his 3-month meditation. He'd be like, he had a little twig there. And he'd put it in his teeth. And he'd make sure that there were no like weird food pieces in his teeth. He didn't have a mirror, so his hair, you can imagine, was like, and he'd make his way to Dharma Gate U. And he taught his students so well. Our hero, the prince, part of his training, he did all kinds of things. For one thing, he was a dog walker. Have you ever seen those people who have like 7 dogs and their pockets are full of bags? Oh my gosh, so much dog poop you can't even imagine. He did that. He worked in the delivery window, in the pickup window at Wendy's. And you can imagine for a vegetarian, it was quite a humbling thing, serving all of the hamburgers that Wendy's serves. And the final humbling thing he had to do, sure he did. I don't even need to tell you how humbling that is. So he was into it. He really was there. And then, final exam. I'm going to ask all of us to take this exam together. It's a yes, no, true, false. So raise your hand when I say each of these statements if you think it's true. Humility is seeing everyone as better than you. Who thinks that's true? Is humility eating from a dog wheel?
Yay!
Is humility wearing gray clothing? Is humility losing in Scrabble on purpose? Are you the most humble person you know? Is humility knowing that you have more to learn? Is humility about having self-esteem enough to wish others well without feeling bad about yourself? I see people who are not losing their hands on it. All right, so obviously our prince did pretty well in the exam, and it was graduation time. And so his parents were preparing this massive party. And they thought to themselves, why are we having it at our house? We're well to do. So for graduation, they gave the prince his own house around the corner. And rather than marble, he had like dark wood floors. It was one of those big old Ann Arbor houses, dark whatever. So he was there, he was happy, and Pachaka Buddha went back to his mountain, the Porcupine Mountains, and was meditating deeply as preparations were going on. After the prince graduates, when I see him again, he will be promoted. That energy, that thought, flew out into the universe. And it flew to the antenna and the ears of others who were not so nice. You know who I'm talking about. One, Mr. Duca. So Mr. Duca and his friends, their meeting space was in Farmington Hills in the sewage system basement. So they were meeting there in their meeting place in the sewage system basement. Mr. Duca, in case you don't know, trench coat, fedora hat, pencil mustache, very nervous person. His accomplice. Who is this? Do you know? Boss Baby! Boss Baby! All right, let me paint the picture for you in case you haven't heard it before. He goes to a tanning salon. He has like this orangey color face. And he has like this weird blonde hair. And he looks constantly like he's going to have a rage-induced nosebleed. And so sometimes you even see smoke coming from his ears, and when he's really upset, fire just comes straight out of his head. So that's Boss Baby. But this time, because it was such an important thing with enlightenment and snake, there's another person. His name is Omar. And he is like a wraith figure. He kind of floats down from the sky. He's a really bitter guy. You know what part of it was? When he took a human form, his name was Omar, and it was B. Omar. And yet everyone called him B. Omar, like B.O. B. Omar. And he went through life being called B.O. And that really bothered him. He says, no, my name is B. Omar, not B.O. But he got made fun of his whole life, so he became very bitter, and he came back as this wraith-like figure who likes screaming people, and his name was Omar. So he came down, and the three of them met, and his voice was sleepy. We must do something about this. This must not stand. And Mr. Duca was running around. Boss Baby was like, and they didn't know what to to do, but they were hatching a plan. Meanwhile, back at the prince's new house, preparations are being made for a grand event to celebrate graduation and to move on in his professional life in humility. And so he, all of the preparations are being made. His lawn was no longer a lawn. It was that thing that everyone's doing with native plants and everything. So he's like, they're getting everything ready. And the prince walks through his new house. I'm not kidding you. This is all in scripture. And on the third floor, in the fourth door, over the sill, or whatever that thing is, the lintel on the top, lived a diva. And this diva had 3 children. The prince looked up. Have you ever looked up in the top of your door? Maybe you have one living there. So this diva lived in this house, and the prince said, "Well, hello, diva."
Hi. How are you? I like living with you. I think we're going to be very good friends.
And meet my 3 children. So the prince was like, "Yeah, I'm really psyched that you're here because I won't have to be alone in this house." And so the days went by, and the diva saw how much the prince gave to the Detroit Zen Center, to the Ann Arbor Zen Buddhist Temple, to the Pacheco Buddha to keep this guy alive because he didn't eat very much ever. And so she got very worried. You're using all of our resources. We are not going to be able to survive in this house unless you have money. And she didn't tell that to the prince at first, but she was so anxious about running out of money that she ran to the prince's parents. "He's going to spend everything on this Dharma stuff." And his parents are like, "Well, you got to talk to him about that." And then she went to Haji. "He's going to spend everything. We're going to be no house, no home. It's going to be terrible. Me and my family will have to move." Haji said, "You need to talk to him about that." So finally, she got her courage up. She said to the prince directly, "I don't feel comfortable about how you're managing your finances. I feel I am on the cusp of homelessness." And the prince said, "I think we'll be okay." "No, we won't." "I think so." "No. "I think so." "No." "Yes." "No." "Yes." "No." "Yes." "No." "Yes." "No." Okay. The prince was like packed. And so he was like, "Look, if you are so anxious, I know 3 pots of money that you can go get. One is, one time I was riding along Huron Parkway, and into the Huron River dropped a bucket of, a case of money. It was a couple $1 million. It's down at the bottom of the Huron River. Another time, I was keeping some money to give to the temple, and they put in a garden. So it's under the garden of the Zen Buddhist temple. There's a lot of money. I would say a couple million. And then, finally, this guy named O'Reilly owes me money. So you go to these 3 people, and you get that money, and then you can have it, and you can be secure."
Okay. That's hard.
It is hard, but it's worth it if you're so anxious. So off the diva went to do this. Meanwhile, up in the Porcupine Mountains, Pacheco Buddha woke up from his, he didn't wake up, he came along from his meditation practice. He didn't fall asleep when he was meditating, but he puts his little splinter up and clean his teeth. He got an invitation to the prince's party, so he's heading down there. And he's happy, and so everyone's getting ready for this big party. There are preparations inside, outside. Who is there? Well, of course, there's a mix of people coming to the party. It's people like, Prince's friends. It would be people like Beyonce, LL Cool J, Taylor Swift. I think, Snoop Dogg was there. Governor Gretchen Whitmer came, and me, I was invited, and all of you were there. So we're all like waiting to go in, and it's all a very happy position. And who else comes. Mr. Duca, boss baby. Mara, let's see from the sky in a spiral. And Mara had a plan for how to stop the party, stop the two of them from meeting, and Buddha would die because he hasn't eaten, and he has to eat. That's part of why he goes to the prince's house, is to get that. So Buddha stomps on down from his cloud perch, comes down, he's standing there, he's really thin. And what happens? Mara comes down. It looks like this. And magically, there's a ring of fire around the prince's house. It goes down 200 feet. And it goes up 200 feet in the air. And because it was such a special occasion, ABC News was there, CNN, you had HGTV, who was doing a piece on the house, and everybody is stunned. You have all of this fire all over the place. But how is Buddha going to get any food if there's this fire? So, unbeknownst to the prince inside, he's getting ready, getting his clothes on. Dang, it seems hot in here. So there was a butler who was going to go get the mail. He opened the door and poof, his eyebrows got singed off. And it's like, there's a problem outside. He ran, told the prince. Another, person who worked for the prince came to the door and was like, yeah! Ran to the back of the house. The back of the house was burning too around it. Not the house, but just this moat around it. And the prince was like, this cannot stand. So he walks out to the fire. And he looks out. He opens his door. He sees this wall of fire. And he says, who is responsible for this? The answer came, it is I. Oh, he said, Mara, you are not going to do this. You are not going to stand in the way of this. We will see who has the most courage. We will see who has the most humility. I will not allow this to happen. So he had his plate of food to give to Buddha. And he steps into the pit of fire. He steps right into it. And what happens at that very moment is a giant lotus comes up out of the fire and lifts the prince up, complete with him holding his plate of food. And pollen from the flower covered him all over, so he was like a golden creature. And he said to Buddha, catch! And he sent the food over like a frisbee. And Buddha had a plate of food and she gobbled down, so he wasn't going to die. At that point, crying so the fire went down. It was a terrible mess in the yard, but the fire went down and all the guests were able to go in and have a giant party. And they danced and they sang, and Buddha greeted the prince. Oh my gosh, Prince! It's such an honor to have been your teacher. And the prince says, I want to come visit you a lot in the Porcupine Mountains. Then what happens is people are leaving. It was a beautiful night. Who comes in? Oh, hi. Did you get the money?
Yes, it was really hard getting into that Huron River, swimming around, It was really hard.
And then
I was able to dig up in the temple too. I didn't bother too much, Camp, but I did get the money.
oh, good. So now you feel like okay.
Yes, I'm feeling very well now. Thank you very much.
And the prince said, I'm really sorry if I hurt your feelings. I was so anxious for whole preparations, but that's not who I am. That's not who I want to be. So I didn't mean to speak harshly to you. And so you accept my apology. So Eva reached her little, whatever this is, and they touched. And the prince said, I didn't want to cause you any worry. I didn't want to call you. I just want to see you dancing in the purple rain, purple rain. I only want to see you dancing in the purple rain. And they danced together, and people were so happy. And they lived together their whole life. And they kept each other so happy, and they both followed the Dharma way, the humility way. Which you remember is not about putting people above yourself, but putting yourself up. It's about putting all yourself there. So that's our story for today. Took a lot of twists and turns. You know, our Mara, Dukkha, Boss Baby, they're all there. But the question is, what are we going to do in spite of them? We're going to be like the prince? I hope so. That's it. Thank you. All right. So, do we have announcements from our group? I'm going to. You want to do it, Dr. Or do you want me to wing it? So we're going to be not breaking out into picnics groups this time because it's our first meeting together, and because we have a picnic. We have games, really good games. We got a cornhole. We got that, and we have badminton, and we have soccer and football. So we're going to have a meeting with parents to talk about the trajectory of our program, and then at 11:30, when you guys are done, you please, if you can stay, come back. And I think Martin is going to be our drill master. All right, good. So pups, and we have lots of other good things to eat. So let's all have a nice picnic together. Think about it. Okay, so let's chant Ma'um on our way out. Before we leave, the families program folks are going to do
Somewhere in my head.
Okay, so let's, we're done, stand up. Okay, let's focus. Focus. Look at the Buddha. Make vows. Oh, okay, so the family people, we're going to be exiting, and we're going to be going into the back. So let's chant Ma'um.
So everybody, please stand up. Everybody can follow me. You can just do a little stretching.
Bend your knees and then straighten them. And then again, you stand up. Now those who've been sitting on mats and cushions, if you could come closer and fill in front rows. And now that the families have departed, we will feel a little bit more easy. And then